All right. I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts on The Batman from 2022, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz. So yeah, I saw this movie recently, and I really, really want to go see it again. In general, this is a spoiler-free review, so I'll start off by saying that this is probably the best Batman aesthetic in any Batman movie that I've ever seen. I really loved how grungy Gotham City looked. It was very dark the whole movie, but I've heard some people complain about that, but honestly, I didn't mind. I like the darkness. A lot of Batman's character revolves around him being in the darkness, and they really played with that a lot, which is really nice to see. As for the performances, I think that going into this movie, I already had a deep trust for Robert Pattinson and Colin Farrell. Like anything that they do, I'm in for. Robert Pattinson has had a streak of really, really great movies that he's done recently, and Colin Farrell is just a master at anything. And now I feel the same way about Zoe Kravitz because, yeah, all three of those ones were standout in my opinion. They were all incredible. And then you have Jeffrey Wright, who played Commissioner Gordon, who was also really good. It was fun to see Robert Pattinson and Jeffrey Wright, their dynamic, because it's very much like buddy cop. They go through a lot of the things together because he's the one cop that he can trust. So that's really nice to see. He was great. And then we also have Paul Dano as the Riddler, and Paul Dano has a reputation of playing some crazy characters in the past, and oh boy, he doesn't hold back. And honestly, I expected his character to be like how he was, but he just did it so well. He's great at playing an insane character, and it makes you really afraid of the Riddler the entire time. At some points in the movie, I think it did take itself a little too seriously. I know you have this more grounded, this more gritty Batman take, but there were some points in the movie where it's definitely supposed to be a serious line that Batman is saying, and the audience did laugh a little at some of those moments. But in the end, based on Batman's arc, some of the things that he said really did make sense. I remember in the trailer, Batman says, "I am vengeance." And I remember laughing at that during the trailer. And yeah, that's still in the movie. And I think it's kind of like that sort of vibe. Sometimes he says things along the lines of that. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to take him seriously. But at the same time, I want to give it credit because it is his second year at being Batman, and he's still new to it, trying to discover. And you get a sense that he is definitely not mastered being Batman, and he's still trying some things for the first time, and he still has a lot to learn. So that could be one redeeming quality to the not lack of seriousness, but taking itself too seriously. Next, I want to say that it is almost 3 hours long, and I had no complaints with that whatsoever. This is the kind of movie that I could watch for 5 hours, even longer, and I would not get bored of it. It had a really, really good pace to it. Like, honestly, there was a very little that I would cut from the movie. There definitely is a little at the end that I might shed off a bit. There was one scene near the very end that I think that just doesn't need to be in the movie at all. And I think if you see the movie, you know exactly which scene that I'm talking about. I hate that it's in it, and in my mind, I'm just thinking that, okay, that's not a part of the movie. I'm pushing it out of this onto the side, and I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to count that as a part of the movie, and it makes me see the movie a lot nicer as a complete package. Also, I just want to say that the cinematography and the music were absolutely amazing. The production design was incredible. Like I said before, this is the most gritty and dark Gotham City that we have ever seen, and yeah, the cinematography of all of the dark areas in Gotham and just the grittiness to it was incredible. And yeah, the music accompanying with that, it was just an incredible atmosphere that was made masterfully, really. I see a lot of people comparing this movie to Seven and Prisoners and like David Fincher movies. They're saying, "Oh, this is like David Fincher's take on Batman because it's a detective movie. It's like a noir movie, which the atmosphere is really really fun. And it don't get me wrong, those kind of genres definitely do blend well with Batman in this movie. But at the same time, I think that this plot it feels a little more choreographed than say a real crime movie, and how that plot the detectives are actually uncovering a mystery rather than in this one they're kind of following clues that the Riddler is laying out. So if I'm making a comparison to like The Dark Knight, you have the Joker as an antagonist who is very much interacting with Batman, and you get a lot of tension from him being actually on the scene with Batman, them fighting, and you can think that either one of them could win at any moment. Even though the Joker has planned things out, at the same time, you think he's just insane and that anything could happen at any moment. But in this one, the tension may be a little more muddled because that the Riddler is a little more passive at points. But that is a small gripe. I do like the mystery that we go along, but it's just something that I noticed. Also, I want to say that the conclusion does leave a little to be desired. I think that the grand finale is a little different than the rest of the movie. I like the finale in general, and I think that the arc that Batman goes through in the final battle is definitely well earned and makes a lot of sense and is very satisfying. But I think that the general plot that happens in the end ends a little abruptly, and the climax just isn't as fulfilling as you might want. It's a weird thing because, like, in the grand scope of the movie, the climax isn't very fulfilling, but for Batman as a character, the climax is very, very fulfilling. And that's probably the best point in this movie, that this is a Batman movie about Batman. And that the conclusion and just the story in general is exploring Batman and his struggles with being Batman and Bruce Wayne at the same time. And the way they explored his character was absolutely amazing. And like I said before, the conclusion with his character and the arc that he goes through and the realizations that he has at the end are very, very well done and makes you feel for the character Batman a lot. The supporting cast is incredible, but unlike other Batman movies, this one focuses on Batman. It's not carried by some of the villains, like Dark Knight is honestly carried by Joker a little, we can all admit it. But yeah, Batman was absolutely incredible. I love Robert Pattinson, and yeah, he did such a great job. In the end, I think that this movie was absolutely amazing. I went in expecting to like it. I love long movies personally, and yeah, it definitely didn't feel like it dragged at any moment. I loved the feel to it. I loved this portrayal of Batman, and overall, I think if you like comic book movies, if you like Batman, if you just like action or detective mystery movies, like, go watch this movie. Like, so many people are going to watch this movie. There's a million people telling you that this is a great movie, so yeah, just go see Batman. Go see the Batman. Sorry, I don't want to say just Batman. The Batman. I know a lot of people are comparing to the comics and saying, oh, what is the most comically accurate Batman? In my opinion, I never really read the comics too much. I don't really care too much how accurate it is to the comics, but I can see the parallels that people are drawing, and I think that just this take on Batman and the darkness and grittiness works so well. And just the aura of who Batman is and the darker side really comes through in every aspect of the movie. And yeah, it's great. So I gave it a 9 out of 10. And I always say that giving movies ratings is not as important as the discussion. I usually do just say it at the end if sometimes that's what people are looking for. But yeah, I think it's very clear that I loved The Batman. I'm definitely going to go see it in theaters again sometime soon. It's definitely a movie that you want to see in theaters. So yeah, I think that's the end here. Let me know what you thought about The Batman. I would love to have a discussion about that. This is the kind of movie I could talk about for a very, very long time. So yes, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.